Hello fellow YouTubers, welcome to the channel Faith Without God. My name is HisRant, well, not really, but you can call me that for the sake of decent pseudonym. I'm going to address the constants within all religions that have made fools of 84% of us. Unfortunately, the fault sits on many, though. There is a belief that what we cannot perceive must be a god, and coincidentally it must be the very same god that the many were brought up fearing. I believe the late George Carlin said it admirably.
Think about it. Religion has actually convinced people that there's an invisible man living in the sky who watches everything you do every minute of every day. And the invisible man has a special list of 10 things he does not want you to do. And if you do any of these 10 things, he has a special place full of fire and smoke and burning and torture and anguish, where he will send you to live and suffer and burn and choke and scream and cry forever and ever till the end of time. But he loves you.
So does this sound like open-mindedness to you? Can you make sense of it? Of course you can. You probably laughed at it telling just as hard as I did. But it is this understanding of how illusioned these Christians, Muslims, and other theists throughout the world must feel when they're presented with the evidence in direct contradiction to not only the fantasy that consumes their reality, but also the very same contradiction that is seen within their so-called holy books. Moving on. Theism is social and blocks the advance in society, believing that no matter what the situation, faith will will us to become better. Science has actually achieved this to an extent, while faith is not. Atheism is individual and opens a person to the idea that they are more part of the universe, rather than a creation that was put there intentionally. Atheists often argue that it is the soul that allows for life on the personal level, which is not wrong, but rather uneducated. We are actually connected through a spirit, though, that being electricity. Theists just have a different word and understanding of the physics that allow our hearts to beat and our minds to perceive and create. Religion also shows that their populations are more susceptible to believe authority figures, which is likely the reason for the creation of it in the first place. Without a cause for order, there is no civilization. Example, those of which the religion does not demean violence against those in the same society will surely fall unless reason replaces religion and allows for growth. Are you religious? I have one question for you then. Is the God you pray to the same God that your book portrays them as? I'm going to pick on the book of Zechariah from the Bible this time so that I won't ever have to mention it again, but I probably will because of the number of contradictions and things that I leave implied. Zechariah 13:3 says, "And if anyone still prophesies, his mother and father to whom he was born will say to him, 'You must die, because you have told lies in the Lord's name.' When he prophesies, his own parents will stop him." Okay, so essentially anyone who might have schizophrenia should be put to death on the spot by their mother and father, specifically stabbed in fact. Apparently, Christianity doesn't appreciate the laws in place to protect the criminally insane, nor men hung from a wooden T by nails through their hands and feet to prove a point either. This is not to mention that Zechariah says in 14:2 that, quote-unquote, "I will gather all the nations to Jerusalem to fight against it. The city will be captured, the houses ransacked, and the women raped. Half of the city will go into exile, but the rest of the people will not be taken from the city." What? So, Zechariah is known as a great prophet who did great things, and yet still, according to the Bible, he is accounted as a man who single-handedly plans and carried out the taunting of numerous other countries and cultures for no reason in the name of faith? War is perfectly reasonable, as long as they believe exactly the same nonsense as you do. But what's more crazy? That, or a God undeniably telling a man to taunt everyone into mindless war? The answer is, it's a tie. It's just as crazy, in fact, to believe both of these very large loads of bullshit. But the following passage, which refers to what God has planned for those who give in to Zechariah's childish taunting, is even more exemplifying of the Christian God that loves all as equals. Zechariah 14:12 reads as follows, quote unquote, "This is the plague with which the Lord will strike all the nations that fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh will rot while they are still standing on their feet. Their eyes will rot in their sockets, and their tongues will rot in their mouth." So, to make things perfectly fucking clear, those who follow God will be led to war, and those who fall victim to it will surely die by plague. So much for your loving God that you read about in your dolled-up Sunday school version Bible.